right, let's talk about PCOS and dairy products. And I know this is a controversial and confusing topic, so I'm going to quickly go over what information we know for sure, kind of in the scientific community about it. And then I'm going to talk to you about how I approach this topic with my own diet and with the plans that I put forth for my clients. And then we'll talk a little bit more about some interesting facts about dairy products. Okay. So I went ahead and looked at the opinions of dietitians Angela Grassi, Hillary Wright, and Martha McKittrick to sort of get a good idea of what the research on PCOS and dairy really says. That is because they're well-respected dietitians in the field of PCOS and nutrition, and registered dietitians are really probably the experts in interpreting the medical nutrition research as it relates to PCOS. So they all seem to conclude that there aren't enough studies to say that every woman with PCOS should stop consuming dairy, and that every type of PCOS or every case of PCOS is going to react poorly to dairy. There are really only 2 studies right now that even look at this issue, and they're both pretty low as far as quality. Small sample sizes, they're not like double blind or done with any type of control, they're just observational studies. And so I'm not even going to really get into them because I don't know how valuable they are at this point for the average person. What I did notice is that there is some correlation in medical research to a high dairy diet and acne. And so what seems to be the pervasive opinion is that if your number 1 priority with PCOS is reducing acne, it could be worth your time and effort to cut out dairy for maybe 12 weeks to see how your skin responds. Okay? So that's what I think we can kind of say, yes, we do know these things about PCOS and dairy. Now, my opinion and how I handled this with my clients. There's a lot we don't know about dairy, as I've said before. And I think that the best way to kind of hedge your bets as far as the PCOS and dairy controversy go are to minimize the amount of dairy you eat, and that minimizing could be different for different people, and to also pay attention to the quality of what you're eating. So let's talk about minimizing. In North American food culture, I've noticed there is an insane amount of melted cheese on everything. And so I think this emphasis on maybe just putting a lot of dairy products into foods that don't really need them for flavor and texture is a good place to start. So looking at your dairy products as more of a condiment instead of like a big part of your meal would be a good place to start. So a sprinkle of high quality cheese on your pasta instead of melting a pile of it on there. A splash of milk or cream in your coffee instead of a big giant latte every day. Using a little bit of Greek yogurt as a flavoring or a side, like a side serving of protein rather than just a giant, huge bowl of it every day for breakfast. Now, quality. I recommend that if it's in your budget and you have it available to you in your neighborhood, to get grass-fed organic dairy. So grass-fed organic cheese and milk. I've had pretty good luck with finding yogurt, cheese, and milk that is grass-fed and organic. So in my household, we don't really let dairy that's not from grass-fed and organic into the kitchen, into the refrigerator. So we know that at least the dairy we're eating at home is high quality, and I don't really, sweat it when I have a little dairy outside of my home because I can't control that. So as far as what I eat every day, I probably have no more than 1 small serving of dairy, if that, in a day. I probably have like 3 or 4 a week. And that usually looks like maybe a cappuccino with some milk in it, maybe a serving of grass-fed cheese on my sandwich once a week, or on my pizza that I make, or maybe a little cottage cheese in like a smoothie or something if I can find high-quality cottage cheese. Okay, so that's how I handle dairy. I just minimize how much I eat of it. I look for high quality. So why are people concerned about dairy for PCOS? I think this is basically how it breaks down. First of all, no matter what kind of dairy you get, there's going to be some sex hormones in it. That's just the nature of dairy. And there's a question of if we ingest the hormones that are in milk products, if they will affect our PCOS. And I don't think we know for sure based on what I'm seeing in the research. Also, that carbs aren't the only thing that cause an insulin spike when you eat them. Every food does. And certain types of dairy cause an insulin spike similar to that of eating a serving of white rice. Now, so you want to kind of bear that in mind. For example, low-fat yogurts, skim milk, and cottage cheese are pretty highly insulinemic. They have a high insulin demand. And it's about the same as, like I said, eating a carb. So you want to keep that in mind if you're using it a lot and in big portions in your diet. Whereas cheese is actually it's got a low insulin demand, similar to that of scrambled eggs. So cheese might be, something you might favor a little bit in your diet because of that reason. So I think that that's where the controversy or the concern with PCOS and dairy comes from. And it's not that I think that it's completely uncalled for. It's just that we don't have any hard, cold conclusion that we can for sure say for every person living with PCOS. So my suggestion is to kind of think about how you feel after you eat dairy and see if maybe cutting back is appropriate for you, or if you have a huge acne you may want to completely cut it out for a while just to see if your acne goes away. It might be worth it. I know it would be for me. So if you would leave comments below about your dairy and PCOS experience and share them with everybody, I would love that. But I hope that this was helpful and gave you a little bit of clarity today.